Welcome to another Keelhauled podcast. I'm your host, CaptainLogun, and we've got a lot of Sea of Thieves news to cover today, so tie yourselves to the mast and hold fast. Ahoy there, pirates. I hope you had yourselves a good week and a good weekend. I know I did. This week, we've got the Gold Hoarder Community Discord episode for the month of May. We have a bunch of folks joining in to talk about a bunch of different topics as far as like Duke, the runes. We have a really good discussion on what makes a good crew and what's considered spawn camping. We also dive into the Athena's Fortune book and why it's free on some platforms but not others, and also how it went. So join me as I call out the Patreon call out list. This episode we have Bentley Beaver, Chateau Neuf, Cosmic Johnson, El Jefe Esteban, Jabaro5, Lumpy SRQ, DubDubGoose, Evil Morpheus, Papa Fuzz, Regis Stella, Rust Belt Kid, TN Professor, Big Bad Pad, Mina Fairy, CJ Superpack, Davram TV, Fergatron, Kazia the Rogue, Xbox Mike 29, Tech Deku, Windsor Chris, and Zam Wow. Thank you all for your support. Remember, anyone in the Gold Hoarder tier can join in on the conversation for these community Discord episodes. Feel free to jump in. We would love to have more people get their feelings and their thoughts out for the actual episode. If you have any questions, just feel free to let me know. You can always hit me up on Twitter at CAPT_LOGUN. You can always send me an email, CAPTLOGUN@gmail.com, or you can always hit me up through the Patreon or Discord. There's plenty of ways to hit me up, so just look into the show notes for all the ways to contact me. And with that, pirates, let's get to the discussion. So we are recording our main episode of the Keelhauled Gold Hoarders community episode, and I wanted to thank everyone for coming by. Tonight we have DubDubGoose, El Jefe Esteban, Regis Stella, and Big Bad Pad joining us. DubDub, how are you doing?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Good, thank you. Jefe, how are you doing tonight?
Doing well. Doing well.
Awesome. Regis, welcome. How are you doing?
Doing good. Finally reached level 100 on my renown, so I'm good for the rest of the season.
Nice, nice. I just hit level 100 last night as well, too. And of course, Big Bad Pad, how are you doing? Welcome.
Yeah, very good. Very warm over in the UK at the moment.
That's good. I know it's been pretty cold up there for a bit. You guys wanted to, I left it up to you to decide on the topics because most of the time I usually let you guys know what I wanted to chat with you about, but I left it up to you all to decide what you want to bring to the table to discuss. So I wanted to see you guys came up with, and we have 5 different topics that you guys wanted to bring up. Runes, Duke, what makes a good crew, and when does spawn camping become toxic, as well as the Sea of Thieves Athena's Fortune audiobook. So let's kick things off with probably runes, or is it ruins? Did I say it right? I think, like I said. All right. So let's start off with that. These are things that are kind of going on both in game and outside of the game. I've been really kind of trying to keep up with this. Thankfully, I'm part of a really good Discord group, the Ancient Isles, or the Ancient Isles University Discord group, and they kind of do a lot of the work. So they've been kind of sussing out a lot of the different meanings, keeping track of all of the Twitter and Instagram posts, trying to keep up with, what do all of the different words mean and whatnot. And it's been kind of really nice to see, nice to see kind of how they have been figuring out like what's been going on with them. And it seems like every couple of days, Rare puts out a new picture somewhere that has a new hidden rune to try and give us a little more idea of what they're teasing. But I wanted to leave it up to you guys to kind of bring your own thoughts to the table. What did you think of these? Are you going to enjoy it? What's kind of going through your mind?
Personally, I've really enjoyed it. We were talking kind of off air, but like I'm a huge Zelda fan, so I love kind of questy, puzzly kind of things. So just kind of have these things kind of trickle in the absence of what's been a really long drought of story, I guess. It's been nice. It's something to kind of noodle through and puzzle out and wonder what's going to come and where are they going to go with the game and that kind of thing. So in that regard, I've enjoyed it. It's scratched that itch that I've had for, gosh, it's been over a year now since they put out any kind of new tall tales or new true story. So I like it. I'm good. I'm happy.
Yeah. It's been interesting to see kind of how they've been introducing these and what kind of mysteries they've been uncovering. Regis, I know you mentioned this topic. What were you thinking about these?
Well, considering that Rare decided to I don't know if they, okay, let me just I am just so frustrated. I'm just honestly frustrated. Like as soon as Falcor decided to reveal like the fully translated ish runes thing, the last 8 runes that we got from March, Rare decided, yeah, you know what we should do? We should give him like 5 riddles for players to discover. Then decided to give him another set of 8 runes. I was like, for God's sake, Rare, please just tell us honestly and openly, because some people like riddles like you, El Jefe, but me, it's like just tell us honestly and openly. Just please, just enough with the riddles, enough with the runes. Just tell us openly, honestly. Do what you did at year one, and just reveal the next few content updates.
Yeah, it's an interesting twist, right? With the way they're doing it, it's clear that they want to they want to try and tease out what's coming. And it seems pretty evident to me, especially as we get into another topic that we'll be jumping into, that they're trying to give the diehard fans, the people that have been following all the social media stuff, something to chew on while they get this next update out, because we're still looking at, I think it's 20 days left in the season. So, regardless of, what's going on, what's going to be coming with it, I have a feeling we'll probably find out more about it, and it's still a ways out. And they've got to do something, but with the cadence that they're doing as far as the content updates, it seems like we're just going to have to sit and wait for season 3 before we get any lore driven aspects. So I like what they're doing, but it feels like they're kind of a little catty with the runes, or with the runes, as well as not
And running out of ideas.
not that they're going out, or not that they're getting out of ideas. I honestly like the way they're going about this, but because it does kind of feed into the lore, and it does kind of flesh out that the skeleton or the ancient language that they're using. So I do appreciate that. I think the difference is that a lot of us are just kind of a little frustrated, or a little anticipating of what's going to be going on with the actual story, and we just want to actually, I'm sure if this is going on during the time where, I'm sure if this is what was going on during a time where we had like new tales and stuff, it might be a little overwhelming to have like this plus new content to be diving into. But with the season 2 having just the one, really just the one event, we really don't have a whole lot going on this season, and it's pretty relaxed. It seems like this is just kind of like, okay, we know you have something, let's get to it.
And plus, everybody doesn't really have like a Twitter account or YouTube or Instagram, so there are maybe a large portion of players who are hearing this for the first time, if they're listening to this, and not noticing that there's like stuff like runes. In fact, I'm seeing the sheet of runes on screen on my screen right now, and probably have no idea that this is going on their Twitter and whatnot. So there's also that to consider as well.
The nice thing is that nothing that is being put out right now is anything that is removing story from the game. Everything that they put out is just been teasers on what's actually going to eventually like be explained. So if you wanted to say miss all of this and you weren't paying any attention to YouTube or Twitter or Instagram or any of those, you wouldn't miss out on anything. You would eventually get the same information that has always been there from day one. This is just kind of teasing what's going to be coming, instead of like straight out lore like they do with, say, like the Tuesday lore drops or the trivia Tuesdays that they do.
Yeah, I see what you mean. And again, sorry for my rants. It's just some people like puzzles, while simpletons like me just get easily infuriated by them. But I guess it keeps me a community engaged. So sorry for my rant.
No, you're good. I think the thing is like it has a kind of Indiana Jones aspect to me now, and maybe someone else can speak to this, to their feelings on this. Like Jefe, I know I'm a huge Zelda fan as well too. So puzzles like this always kind of like, I enjoy some of them. some of these are definitely a little tougher for me to suss out because I just don't have enough time to scour every single image that they put out. So thankfully, because of like the Ancient Isles Twitter handle and the Discord, they've been doing a lot of the work to kind of find these and work together to try and understand the language design of it beyond just like what they find in the actual images. But for those that don't know the Falcor video that you're talking about, we had the runes or the runes that came out that were 8, and we kind of worked out the things to finally getting the actual information that the 8 runes. God, I hate that word. Say Silver Blade ship below Treasure Island Sea Kingdom. And I wanted to ask you all, what did you think of that? Like, do you feel like this is pretty much a guarantee that we're going to be going underwater at some point and dealing with the merfolk?
I think so. I think so. I think it's kind of one of those topics that it's kind of been there, kind of in the shadows since, early on in year 1 with the mermaid statues. And I think it's with that set of runes. I think it's worth pointing out too, and that's cool and all. But I'm really looking forward to the whole Silver Blade thing. Does that mean we actually get to meet Flameheart Jr. or what's going to happen there? That's the anticipation of all of that kind of coming to fruition is interesting. And I wonder if it's going to be, if they're going to kind of stretch this out throughout multiple updates, like maybe like to the rest of the year. If it's all going to kind of tie together somehow. But yeah, I definitely think that something's going to happen with mermaids of some sort. That's my guess.
Very cool.
I am myself convinced that. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna simply say that maybe once we actually go under the water, I could finally sing "Under the Sea" from Little Mermaid, because this fits.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I had myself convinced that the silver blade is underneath Reapers, and that the Servant of the Flame is Flameheart Jr. But now I'm not so sure because of all the stuff with the mermaids and how the clues are changing and all that. But that's kind of what I was thinking. I was pretty confident that you lift that door up in the Reaper's hideout and the Silver Blade's under there. I still kind of think that, but I'm not sure yet.
Something that showed up about a year and a half ago on Reapers before it turned into Reaper's hideout was that grave, and then they had like the flowers that came out to the shape of the warrior constellation. Those are gone, but the grave is still there. And I don't know. I've always wondered, like, does that have something to do with Flameheart Jr.? But I don't know.
See, I always thought that it wasn't Flameheart Jr. because I didn't think that Flameheart Jr. ever got a grave. I always wondered if it was actually the captain who was there and he was buried, but then he was like risen as a skeleton. And then since he was stuck on that island, he just kind of made a cave system himself and laid the chalice there, luring pirates. But to speak to what you said, DubDub, you actually bring up a good point. The Silver Blade ship below Treasure Island Sea Kingdom, as we know, there's a lot of treasure below inside the Reaper's hideout, and we just don't know what's below that door. And it could very well be to Flameheart Jr. or could very well be to a Sea Kingdom. We just don't know at this point, but we do know that somewhere in the shores of Plenty, the Silver Blade sank, and at that point, I have to wonder, what's going to happen with Reapers. We have to find out what's going to happen at Reapers at some point, and I'm hoping that it's either a pirate legend hideout for Reapers or it's actually getting to Flameheart Jr. And I don't blame you for thinking that the Servant of Flame is Flameheart Jr. because to me that makes sense, because I've always been kind of curious, what kind of a person is Flameheart Jr. going to be? Is he going to be someone that's like his dad because he doesn't really know his dad? He only has ever had small interactions with him. So it's at that point, did he grow up to be like the guy in the sky that we know right now? Or did he grow up to be that guy that he knew from the stories when he was a kid? And I'm actually kind of curious to hear from some of you. Do you think Flameheart will be a friend or a foe to us?
Depends on if the captain, or I guess if if Flameheart Jr. finds out what Flameheart Senior has become and who Senior really is, Junior, if you remember from the book, only know his father from being this kind, loving father who would just tell tales about his time in the Sea of Thieves, and not really knowing about being a wannabe pirate king. So could be a differences between the Flameheart that he was the senior Flameheart senior that was told to Junior, between a big difference between the father and the father and that he knew, and the I just a mess today, sorry.
No, you're good. I know what you're getting at. You're meaning as far as like whether or not he's going to be that guy in the sky or the loving father that he portrayed when he was actually with his adopted son.
Yeah.
Was there anything else you guys wanted to speak on as far as the new set of runes that we got, or how they're delivering some of the content? All right, so let's move on to the next discussion topic, which is Duke the Dark Lord, who I'm calling the Dark Lord because I don't know if you guys necessarily do that, but he's in a new spot, and I was wondering if you guys wanted to tackle this. Pad, I know you're wanting to talk about Duke.
Oh no, I was just going to say you want to talk about Duke.
Kind of, I brought up the topic that you guys brought up to me, so I wanted to jump on Duke the conversation.
Something that I've been thinking about. If you remember back when he disappeared for a while and Stitcher Jim took his place, and he came back, he had been all beat up and was scared to death. I've always wondered, what happened to him? And I wonder if, he said he was going out, looking for things. I wonder if he somehow got a hold of something that cursed him, and we're just kind of seeing his slow degrading towards something. I don't know. It seems like he's just the way he's talking, this and that. Duke is not healthy. But he's obviously after something, chasing something down.
He's turning into a mermaid statue.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's interesting. I'm just curious to see what they're going to do with him. Obviously, he's going to play a big role because his voice changed, and it's a pretty common thing so far that Raiders done, is that if somebody's going to be tied into usually a tall tale, then they actually get a real voice actor instead of somebody from the studio. So, and that has happened. So obviously, Duke is going to be a big player in something. But I don't know. It's interesting. It's another one kind of thing. I just kind of sit around and just think about and just kind of ponder and wonder, and would just love to kind of have that veil kind of pulled back a little bit.
Yeah, I really like what they're doing with that character. I don't necessarily like that character. I think that character was kind of out of a necessity for a time when they were trying to figure out how they wanted to deliver content, and that they're taking that character and are trying to actually build it into a lore character, where I think that there's other lore characters that personally could have been brought into the game and deserve a spotlight. And I was just wondering, if that'll ever happen. But speaking to what you're talking about, I definitely think that there's going to be something going on with Duke. I think we're finally going to get an answer to the question of what's going on with the mermaid statues. I think is something that I've been harping on for years at this point, how I've never appreciated how the mermaid statues were destroyed by the request of Duke. And that was always something that always kind of rubbed me the wrong way. I was like, why are we destroying the statues? What are these statues? Why does it feel like this isn't a good idea? And Duke is now over at Old Salts Atoll. He's talking about getting too close to a statue, and he's kind of messed up in the head as a result. And I think that because of that, it's one of those situations where he's trying to find out more about what's going on with the actual statues. And I think that because of that, it's going to be just more and more deeper into this idea of what are the statues, why are they mermaid statues, what kind of power do they hold, and when we'll probably find out when we actually get a chance to go to the Sea Kingdom, if we're actually going to go to a Sea Kingdom. I'm actually curious, does anyone actually believe that we are going to be able to go to a Sea Kingdom?
Maybe, maybe not, but I mean, if the runes are to be believed, then I guess yes, but again, we have to hear it from, I guess, the horse's mouth, which is rare, so yeah, so it's gonna be a long way away.
Yeah, but what if the Sea Kingdom is the Silver Blade that's underneath Reapers and nobody can go in there because of, I don't know, some kind of magic or something? Like maybe they're trying to break a spell, a curse, whatever you want to call it. to be able to get down there.
I can definitely see that. See us trying to figure out how to break in there, and it's being held from us. All right. So Jefe, you brought up this topic, and I wanted to kind of let you spearhead this if you wanted to. The next topic we're going to be discussing is actually what makes a good crew. So what did you mean by this?
And Patty, you can get in here and help me also. We were just talking the other day about how just the game itself is kind of how it's just evolved over the last few years, and what constituted as, you know, a decent crew 3 years ago, we think is very different than what that looks like today. And I tell you, there's a lot of folks out there, like especially in the Keelhauled community, that seem to kind of, you know, not have a normal crew. And, you know, what do you look at or look for when you're trying to, you know, maybe formulate that? And because I have determined that when, you know, from like with the overall arching group of folks that I play with, you know, I've kind of got my normal hardcore crew that's like, you know, the Black Rose, but then there's a revolving door of probably 10 or 15 other people, you know, that we play with on a regular basis. And there's definitely, you can see differences when you play with people that you play with all the time versus folks who you don't play with all the time. And tends to be that we're more successful when you have that familiarity there. Like, for instance, like Prof and I, we can be selling, and I mean, we're to the point now we don't even have to tell each other what we're doing, because we know each other. We know each other's movements. We know each other's, you know, anticipated actions, and that only comes with selling with someone for a while. But just in general, I think that, you know, you've got to have, for this game to be successful for you, you have to be with people who communicate. You've got to tell them what you're doing. You know, they need to tell you what they're doing, and that kind of thing, because you can get yourself into a pickle real fast if you're not communicating well. And, you know, it's just interesting. Like if we, you know, roll up on a ship or something, and and get into a good naval battle, and Prof goes over to board or something, you know, he'll laugh sometimes. He'll like, man, it's absolute chaos. They're just screaming and hollering, and they have no clue what anybody's doing, and nobody's downstairs bailing or patching. And, you know, it's everybody needs a role, or a general role, or at least knowing, you know, what folks are doing. So if you've got somebody on cannons, you got somebody on the helm, you got to have somebody's got to keep their eye out for, you know, the integrity of the ship. If not, you're going to find yourself sunk with lost treasure. And I get everybody wants to, you know, have the cool roles of, you know, firing the cannons or trying to board or, you know, driving the ship. But, you know, it's the true bilge rat who is down there patching and bailing is probably the most important person on the ship at any time, because without that role, you're not going to have the ship left. So it's just really important just to kind of, again, have open communication and kind of have, you know, pre-designed set roles. And it always have to be the same thing. But, you know, if we get into a ship battle, typically, you know, Prof is going to be the person who's going to go board, just because that's his strong suit. He's, you know, the Magic PC player that can just does better than those of us who are on console. More times than not, I'll grab the helm or the cannons, depending on, you know, what's going on, or get down and, you know, patch and bail. Just, you know, it just depends. But working together as a team is huge. If you don't work together as a team, you're probably not going to have an overall positive experience, and find yourself frustrated more times than not. So in general, that's just kind of things that, you know, I was thinking about. And we were talking with people the other night. It was me, him, and Patty, and some others. And Patty, what else were we discussing on that?
It wasn't so much. It was everything in general. In the fact that it's taken us a year and a half or 2 years to get to the position where, like you say, you have your hardcore crew, and they all know what they're doing. For my crew, it's myself, Mina, normally Chateau and or Matt. We rotate Shaggy in. Between us, we'll be on a galleon. And yeah, Chateau is the one that goes off killing people on other boats. Matt is the cannoneer, and I tend to be the build rat. Is on the wheel. We all know what our jobs are. If Chateau gets killed, Matt's the next one over. We all know that Matt's the next one over because it's something that we've done for the last year. I think that the other thing that we were talking about was obviously personality types. That yes, it's taken us 2 years to get to a position where we have a crew, and like you say, we have a dozen or so people that we have rotation through, and we'll sail with. There are all types of people on the seas, and there will be times that you are crewed up with a person that you just don't click with. And that's okay. Sail with them and then don't sail with them again. But some people can get quite het up about sailing with people that aren't doing what they want them to do. And so I think it's a case of being able to acknowledge that I don't like this person, or I don't like the way this person plays. I won't play with them again. Don't get so het up about it. It's a game, and like life, there are people out there that you won't like, and there are people you will fall in love with.
You're talking about me, aren't you?
Well, I was thinking more along the lines of Rusty, but
Oh, you guys are too much. I wanted to ask this question of you guys because I really appreciate what you guys are talking about, but I wanted to ask how you feel, because you guys are talked a lot about knowing who's going to be doing what and less so about communication. But what about prioritizing or prioritization? I don't know why that's such a hard word for me today, but knowing what's the priority and what's not, because more often than not, I think the times where I've been with a crew when we failed, it was due not in part to a lack of communication. I think that it was definitely clear, but I think that the communication was like, we knew that there didn't need to be communication because we're probably playing Sea of Thieves for a while, but I think that it was a difference of prioritization. And when someone should have been bailing, someone should have been repairing, they were cannoning, or they were raising a sail, or they were trying to raise an anchor, or trying to get some treasure. And I think that more often than not, it was a difference in priorities that caused a ship to sink, or treasure to be lost, or getting killed. And so often it feels like when someone calls for bail, if the person on top deck does not instantly respond, and that they think maybe they've got like one or two more cannon shots that they can get in because they've got just that perfect angle, that they're not trusting their crewmate when they say that they need something and they go and do it. And that part of the communication, I think, is the part that is the most important. So when you know that you don't need to have that shorthand, that you just trust your teammate to be able to ask for something when they actually need it, as opposed to calling for it when they don't necessarily need it. But I want to ask your thoughts on prioritization. Do you think that it is more important than communication, or do you think that communication trumps prioritization? Ahoy there, pirates. This is the ad for this episode, and I did want to let you know, if you wanted to avoid these and just get a regular filler, you can head over to the Patreon. There's a special feed just for patrons that get the ad-free version. If you want to keep listening, though, I can't say I blame you, because this week I want to let you know about Loot Crate and getting 15% off of most crates and crate subscriptions when you use the link and code RobotsRadio in the show notes. Also, you can head over to audiobooks.com, get your first 3 audiobooks for free, and that can include any 2 VIP books, or use the affiliate link for Green Man Gaming. If you're a PC gamer or you'd like to save money on games, it's one of the benefits of being a PC gamer. Head over to Green Man Gaming. You can get codes for Steam, Epic, any of the different stores that they have deals going on. They have deals going on all the time, and if you plan on buying there, please consider using our affiliate link. All of that goes straight to me through the network. Thank you all so much for everything that you do to support this podcast. It means the world to me, and I continue to try and improve the quality and the content for you. With that, pirates, let's get back to the show.
I think it's probably two sides of the same coin, right? I mean, for sure, absolutely, prioritization is absolutely key. If you're in the middle of a combat and somebody's downstairs, patching and bailing, and they call for a bail, with us, we know, like, and we have learned this through the school of hard knocks of losing everything. Of if somebody calls for bail, you stop what you're doing regardless of what it is, and you get below
100%.
deck and you bail immediately. We don't care if we have the perfect shot. We don't whatever. Get downstairs, patch and bail, so that we can all then go back to doing a better job of the overall battle. That is huge, and I think that's probably where a lot of folks do probably get in trouble, is that they don't take their crewmates for their word. If someone says, "Hey, I need a bail," and you wait 5-10 seconds, that 5-10 seconds can make all the difference in the world.
Yeah, and I think that gets born out of communication, though. I think when Jefe talks about his set crew and then the rotators, I kind of think I'm one of those rotators, right? Like I play with them frequently enough now, but before, when I was just sort of filling in, or I just sort of met these guys and whatever, it was evident to me, okay, these guys are good at this game. They know what they're talking about. So when we're taking damage and Jefe's downstairs, scooping and hammering, and he says, "I'm okay," I know he's okay. When he says, "I need a bucket," he needs a bucket. You know what I mean? Like, it just comes out of all of that is born out of communication, because the better somebody communicates, the quicker you sort of, I guess, learn that trust or whatever. I know this guy knows what he's talking about.
I think the other thing that my crew definitely know is my tone of voice.
Oh yeah.
If I say bail, it's a case of, yeah, all right, fine, we'll be down in a second. If I say I need a bail now, they know it's no, you're not stopping. You're coming down now to get this water out of this. Otherwise, we're going to go down. Like you say, it is communication, but it is also prioritization.
I wanted to ask, because Jefe, you said it so eloquently that it's kind of two sides of the same coin, and I wanted to bring in the other, I guess, the edge of the coin, which I think kind of merges the two. If you're going to have good communication that leads to better prioritization, there needs to be trust. WW actually brought up the word trust, and I'm glad you landed on that, because I was wanting to end on trust, and I think it's one of the most important things, and I think that it's one of those things that only comes from sailing with people that you can mesh with, and it's why it's so important to find people that you can mesh with, because without that trust that is built upon communicating properly and then prioritizing things and then getting those wins, that you start to build that trust. And the more trust you have with a crewmate, the more you can start to know that if something is going well, it's because we're working together, and that's because there's trust between us. And if there isn't trust, then you don't trust that person to do the right thing at the right time, and that if you communicate what you want them to do, that they will actually do it. So how do you guys feel about these this kind of trifecta of things, between communicating, trust, and prioritization? So those kind of three that you were on, is there one that I'm missing?
I think those are all
I think
perfect.
you've got it there, and I think, like you say, if there isn't that degree of trust, then there is a definite increase in the communication side of things. So yes, if there's only three of us and we want the fourth, and we bring in one of the rotators, whilst we know they can play the game, they are good at this, they may not fully click with the way that the three of us play the game. So we will communicate more with the whole crew, because we know that they don't play with us regularly enough to understand this happens now, that happens there, that happens then.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And to form trust, it takes time. And to take time, you've got to just get out there and sell with people. When the original two folks that I started playing the game with, whenever they stopped playing right around the 1 year anniversary, at that point I had a decision to make of like, okay, am I going to throw in the towel because I do not enjoy this game solo sleeping? I guess personal preference. I know there were folks out there who love it, but I detest being by myself. It's for me, it's more of a social thing than it is more of a game. So I had to make a decision of, okay, am I going to come out of the shadows in the Discord and get involved and play with folks and work on the process of finding a new crew, or do I just throw in the towel and go on to something else? And so I chose to take that leap of faith, and kind of put myself kind of in that realm of being uncomfortable sailing with people that I didn't know from Adam, and it took some time. There was folks that I sailed with that was like, oh man, I could really see myself sailing with this person on a regular basis. And there were some folks kind of like, not my cup of tea, it's fine, whatever, move on. And through that process, and it took a number of months, but through that process is kind of how I found Tennessee Professor, and I found Rust Belt, and I found Patty, and and from there, then you kind of get exposed to maybe other folks that they sail with, and so at that point, then your networking grows, and you have the ability to, through all of that, find a normal crew, and it is 100% worth the work that it takes to get to that. So I would just encourage anybody that's out there that doesn't have a normal crew, and get in Keelhauled, use the looking for crew channels, and take a leap of faith. If you're hiding in the shadows of you're there, but you're not actively engaged, take a chance. It's your experiences in the game and your overall love of the game very well may increase exponentially if you find just some folks that you mesh with and that you can work well together with. And I love it. I love it now, and even more so than I did when I first started playing. And it's 100% has to do with the group of folks that I sail with on a regular basis that I would have never sailed with had I not taken that leap of faith. And then through time, trust was built with kind of that trifecta of the communication and then prioritizing things and this and that. And it's at this point, I would say that we're a pretty well-oiled machine, but it doesn't happen overnight. And you just got to be willing to put in the work to get there. And it's totally worth it.
Yeah, I'd agree 100%. It's good to find people, but you got to put yourself out there if you want to enjoy this game. It's a social game. It's very much like, I love solo slooping from time to time, but it's not my preferred means of sailing. I would much rather have a good conversation with a crew and go out and just have fun. Even if we lose, I hate it, but I would still rather be with friends than just sailing alone.
You actually enjoy solo slooping?
I do. I don't know why. It's weird.
I do too sometimes. I mean, it just depends what I'm doing. I'm not going to go try to, necessarily steal a Fort of Fortune or anything like that by myself. But, there's easy stuff that you can do. Like I'll go hunt, to commendation grind, animals, delivering pigs and stuff like that. I'll go do that stuff by myself.
I had a great time the other day I was out. I was so mostly being in the roar. I grabbed a whole bunch of Order of Souls missions, and I just went out and let a whole bunch of geezers touch some skellies, and then I picked up the skulls and dropped them onto the deck and had a good time with that. I'll be honest. One of my favorite things to do is in the middle of the sea between the Spire and Snake Island. There's a good stretch of ocean that is completely open, and every once in a while I'll take a solo sloop and I'll just run the gamut from North Star Sea Post to usually out towards the Roar, and I'll just hang out in the top of the crow's nest and just enjoy the water and the atmosphere because it's such a beautiful sail, and hardly anyone ever runs through that section. I didn't want to let go of this topic though, because I wanted to throw you guys a curveball and see what you thought. So we have trust that's built on through good communication and prioritization. Where does information fall into this? Where does having good information about the game and knowing the game fall into this triforce of making a good crew?
It does help to have at least one person on the ship that has essentially memorized the map or keeping up with what's going on, going through reading patch notes and, that kind of thing. I somehow I have become that person on our crew. But it's one of those things it's a valuable position because, I can pretty easily call out hey, we need to go, this direction, that's that island over there. They're over by this, that kind of thing. And it takes a bunch of the guesswork out, and then the time spent of running down and then studying, the map. If you've got someone who has that knowledge that they can just spit it out pretty quick, it absolutely it absolutely can help, because then if you've got somebody who's running down, staring at a map trying to figure things out, well, then you're down a crew member for some of those, key positions. If you're kind of in the middle of, something important. So yeah, I definitely think having general knowledge of the game, map layout, things that are going on, I think that it is important, or at least it has its place for sure.
How about reading another crew when you're in a fight, gauging where they're going to be or what they're going to be trying to do, and where they're going to be able to where you're going to be able to head them off?
That will only come with experience, and that means you've got to play the game. Like you say, you try and figure out what they're going to, or what would you do in that situation, and 9 times out of 10 they'll do exactly what you would do. But that 10th time that they do something different, you go, didn't work out for them, or hang on, I didn't expect that, and it gave them the upper hand. It will only come from experience, and you can only get that from playing the game.
I think that's...
And, something that we have noticed that, that we've started been doing probably more so over the last 6 months is, like, whenever we find a situation and we lose, we'll take time and kind of noodle through, okay, what did we do wrong? What could we have done different? What should we have done differently? How could we have, done that better, so that the next time it comes around, we'll be more prepared. So we're definitely, it's interesting, Prof and I, we're definitely at that point in the game where we've played it enough to where now we're getting down into more like the weeds of the granular level of, like, how can we tweak things to get better, instead of, like, big overarching things of, sale management and this and that. It's like, how could we have come in at a different angle, or, whatever it may be. And again, just like Patty said, that's going to come with time. It's going to come with lots of losses, and that's okay. I mean, losing is a part of life, whether it be in a video game or whatever. And it's just like, what do you do when that happens, and how you respond to that when that happens? Rage quitting and throwing controllers and that kind of thing. Sure, that's an option, but does that serve you well in the long run?
It doesn't matter how good you are. There's always going to be something.
Oh, absolutely. We're all going to lose. And when you lose, use it as a learning opportunity to figure out, okay, where did I go wrong? What could I have done differently? How could I have done it better? And use that for personal growth.
And that's what's so great about this game, is that there are ways to deal with being up against a more skilled opponent. Rowboat sneaks, and throwing everything in a rowboat and just running off and distracting them. Just like yesterday, we just sort of outlasted a superior crew. They just realized that it wasn't worth it for them, so they just left. And we ended up getting a Fort of Fortune. That's what's so great about a sandbox game like this, is that there's so many options. Like, okay, these guys are really good at boarding, naval, whatever. They're better than us. Okay, let's do something else. Because you get a bunch of old geezers on a boat. We might not be as good at PvP as some of these young kids, but we're smarter and wiser, and we will outsmart.
It's definitely the things I enjoy looking at whenever I'm every once in a while when I'll lose. I always like to sit back and just kind of think about where the critical point was. What was the critical failure point where I know that if I'd maybe not done this one thing, that there would have been a better chance that we could have gotten could have had a good outcome. I know we lost to a brig the other night, and it was rough, but there was a decision that was made, and I went to go try and keg this oncoming brig, and I realized that, like, after we lost, me not being on the fully stocked ship that we had was a big mistake, because I had a Hail Mary of a plan, and that plan was less likely to work out than if I just stayed on the ship and had a bunch of cannonballs, chain shots, cursed cannonballs, things like that. And that was what I learned from that if I'm going to deal with another ship that's coming to us, if my ship is stocked, one keg is not going to guarantee victory compared to an entire ship with a bunch of cannonballs and my crewmates, because at least I can help them and, fend off borders and things like that. So looking at what makes a good crew, I think we kind of broke down some of the main things. It's never who you're playing with in the sense that like who they are, but it very much comes down to having good communication with that person, who hopefully having someone who has enough information to be able to read the players overseas, as well as the map, and know what the priorities are going to be, and then building that trust that's based off of that. Was there anything else you guys wanted to touch on? What makes a good crew, or did you want to jump into when is spawn camping becoming toxic? All right, so Dub, you brought this up. When does spawn camping become toxic to you?
When it's clear that the only reason they're keeping my boat afloat is just to kill me over. Once again, that's me. And in an arena, never, because you can scuttle an arena consequence free. But if you're in a fight, to me, I guess I could have phrased it better maybe, but protecting holes isn't spawn camping. And keeping a boat up long enough to take all the supplies isn't spawn camping. So spawn camping, I guess spawn camping is toxic. But what do you define as spawn camping is probably a better way to put it, I guess.
I can definitely see that.
And to me personally, situations that I described, I don't consider to be spawn camping. Protecting holes so the boat sinks isn't spawn camping. A couple of bales here and there to facilitate supply robbery isn't spawn camping. Repeatedly keep, not shooting at the boat and just sitting on it so you can kill the person over and over again, spawn camping.
Yeah.
Constantly repairing someone else's ship so that you can repeatedly kill them over and over. That's fun.
Yeah, you could probably agree with all of those. Jefe, Pad, Stella, did you guys have any feelings on the spawn camping, or did Dub cover most of these situations for you?
I was just going to say, and there ends the conversation on spawn camping. Basically, he's exactly that. If it's an arena, you can't be spawn camping because the idea of arena is you kill people. Doesn't matter how you kill them, you are just killing them.
And there's commendations for getting, how else are you supposed to get 300 eye of reach kills? You know what I mean?
But yes, in adventure, unless you are keeping a boat afloat to get their resources, their goods, whatever, it's not spawn camping. If you're keeping it up just to kill them over and over again, then that is spawn camping. And I think Rare have a hard job proving or disproving when people complain about spawn camping.
And of course, when there's foul language, slurs, things of that nature, that's a whole nother level. But just the act in and of itself, I guess, is primary, not the added vocalizations and things. People, because in my experience, at least, I've never had anybody call me a name. I mean, I've had people use spicy language at me, but I've never been called, and I've been playing this game for a long time. So I have a feeling that is somewhat common. Arena, totally different story. Before they muted everybody, but in adventure mode, most people don't even talk, and then the people that do talk, they're just complaining because they're getting.
Yeah. I think I'm with you guys on there. The whole spawn camping issue has really been interesting. If you're stealing supplies, this generally means that someone is not or maybe a couple of people are probably face deep in a menu system right now. So the chances of you spawning in and getting them is higher, and that's generally what I generally expect you to leave yourself open to that or to have your ship, or to have them come back and retake your ship by leaving yourself open by doing that. With bucketing, I don't see one or two buckets as like them spawn camping. I see that as I'm trying to manage the ship just long enough to get for them to be able to get to take what they absolutely need, which may in turn be the thing that ensures their victory. So it's important that they do that. I've never seen the point of repairing another ship's holes. If the ship goes down, the ship goes down. I've never tried to prolong a ship to the point where I have to repair their other holes because I want to guarantee they're sinking, and that's more important to me than the small amount of supplies that I could get from their barrels. I can always get more supplies somewhere else. So I don't know how they fix the spawning system. I don't I don't know how they plan on testing to see like if someone's being toxic or not. I think it's obvious, like hate speech is one of the easy things that for someone to call out is like, hey, this was something that someone said to me. It's technically hate speech and they need to be reported because of it. I've definitely been called spicy words, but I've also said spicy words to people on the seas as well too. So I don't see that as being toxic. I see that as being immature. It's if that's what they're going to do, I'm just going to say GG and a spicy word. But at that point, I think,
man after my own heart.
yeah, it's one of those things. Like I'm not gonna get flustered over. I mean, I've been playing games my whole life. I've definitely been there, but it's definitely become more rampant with online gaming. It's not something when you're playing with your friends with Halo. Maybe you say some spicy words to your buddy across the way who just hit you from across Blood Gulch, which really wasn't really fair. But
Oh no, then you just teabag them, right? In Halo.
yeah,
Same with Destiny.
Yeah, exactly.
Because see, and I won't go off on the tangent, but see, especially in my clan, in Destiny, teabagging is would be a term of endearment.
I'm not going to touch that with a 10-foot pole.
Nor would I expect you to, and that's fine.
That's pretty great. But yeah, I can see how the in jokes kind of lean into it. It's like most folks who usually if they're rough or harsh against you because they like you, it's because they they feel comfortable with you and they like to tease you, things like that. So is there anything else on spawn camping that you wanted to touch on as far as like what Rare's answer could be to this?
No, not really.
Okay, so
it's just something that came up, and I, being the stubborn old guy that I am, I just wanted to read the correct opinion. Yeah. I'm always kind of curious as to why some people are so quick to jump to the conclusion when one person buckets out a ship. It's like, yeah, I see where you're coming from, but technically, no, I wouldn't consider it at all. I did want to jump into our last topic though, that you guys wanted to talk about, which I think we actually found before we started recording is interesting pricing. The Athena's Fortune audiobook is now available on all platforms, including Audible. I think Audible was the last one to finally get it published. I know I've been listening to it on Spotify, but I, like Jefe, had to create a custom playlist to get it to play in the right order because of the way that they uploaded the chapters. It was available on YouTube, or is available on YouTube for free, as well as Regis had mentioned. But what do you guys think of the audiobook?
I think getting Toby Stephens to be the voice of the book was a fantastic thing. And the fact that they've got somebody of such high caliber to do that, and then basically give this thing away pretty much for free across most of the platforms is pretty fantastic. I mean, I was absolutely shocked by that. Like I was 100% expecting to pay for it across all platforms and it not be a free option out there.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you on that one. Regis, I know you wanted to talk about this. What were your thoughts on it?
Well, when I first discovered that the audiobook for Athena's Fortune was on YouTube, the whole book for free, I was like, that's surprisingly very generous of you, Rare. Like, saves people like a lot of money for like getting the book, either again the Audible or whatnot, some money. Then again, it requires an internet connection for those who actually want to listen to the thing on YouTube. But it's real nice and saves a lot of money.
Yeah, so this was kind of an interesting one because I like you all generally use audiobooks as a way to consume most of my books, but we didn't have that opportunity when it came out. So getting to listen to it and knowing that Toby Stephens was, who for those of you who are familiar with him, he's from Black Sails. It's a great show. If you haven't watched it, it's definitely worth watching. If you're into pirates, you probably already watched it, but Toby Stephens does an amazing job of reading through this. There's a lot of good sound effects to kind of accompany the discussion that's going on in the book as well. And he does a great job of kind of breaking apart the different characters and giving different voices to kind of lend to your imagination, to like Ned or Lorena or Rathbone, things like that. And I really like that this is something that's available for free. Now, if you're heading over to audible.com and you look for Sea of Thieves Athena's Fortune, you're going to be wondering how come it's not free on Audible. And I really don't have a good answer for you, because as far as I can tell, at least from what I've seen, the book is about $25. Normally, if you're a member of Audible, you can get it for $17. The weird thing is that on audiobooks.com, I went and checked there, and sure enough, they have it on audiobooks.com, but it only costs $1 for the whole book. And you can actually play for free for a 30-day trial, or use one of the affiliate links that I have in the show notes to check out audiobooks and get 2 or 3 free books and just listen to it that way as well too. But if all of those aren't good ways, having it on YouTube, having it on Spotify, and listening to it for free really just kind of speaks to me about how Rare is trying to get their lore out for folks in an easy enough way to have everyone, as far as I can tell, have everyone be able to get to it. All of the comics that they've released beyond the initial set with DeMarco and Lassetti have all been free. All of the origin books have all been free. That the champion books have all been free on Comixology. And I don't know. It's strange to me at this point, because I don't know where they're going to be making their money outside of like actual physical merchandise, because I don't feel like their comics or their books are something that they're really trying to monetize at this point. All right. Well, I think that's going to do it in this case. Dub, thank you for coming by. Is there anyone that you wanted to shout out, or any place that you wanted to send people if they wanted to say hi to you?
No, not really. I don't have too much of a social media presence. I do have Twitch. I stream every once in a while. It's just my name, DubDubGoose. I guess. Useless trivia. Toby Stevens is the son of, and I can't remember the actress's name, but Professor McGonagall from the Harry Potter movie.
What?
Maggie Smith.
Yes.
What?
Toby Stevens is Maggie Smith's son.
No way.
Yes. 100%.
That can't be true.
It's 100% true. Look it up.
Oh my God. That's amazing. I had no idea. I'm looking this up right now.
Neither did I until I watched Black Sails like 3 or 4 months ago for the first time. And then I was like, oh, this is interesting. And this guy is so familiar to me for some reason, and I don't know why. Because I don't think I'd ever seen him in anything. And then, just Wikipedia'd him or whatever. And I was like, oh
my God. You are right.
Huh.
Yeah, I was going to say you're right as well.
His father is a sire as well, too.
You think I make this stuff up? Come on.
I'll be honest. I just thought she was this perfect actress, and that she just did everything, and she was just kind of created. I didn't think that she would actually have a whole family. It didn't occur to me.
Yeah, it is.
Wow. Okay. Well, I don't really have a way to top that, except Jefe, thanks for coming by. Thanks for sharing your thoughts on this. Is there any place you want to send people or anyone that you want to shout out?
No, I'm around on the Discord. If anybody needs anything, just let me know.
Awesome. Regis, anything you're working on, or anything you want to shout out, or anyone you want to shout out?
A few weeks ago, released another chapter of my fanfic, which is basically just a recap of the last 3 years worth of content updates for those who are unfamiliar with it, especially on the My Little Pony side of the thing. And over that, usual place, Twitter and the Discord as well.
Awesome. Had, thanks for joining us. Where can people catch your content, or anybody that you want to shout out?
Yeah, I'm over on Twitch, Spudhead Paddy. I don't tend to stream a huge amount, but when I do, it's with Mina Fairy and Detonator, Shadow Nerf, and Shaggy Dog, and anybody else who cares to join me. In the mornings with Sightless Combat and Mina Fairy as well, too. Yep, that's a Sunday afternoon for UK people, between 3 and 5. We tend to do Sea of Thieves every 3 or 4 weeks, in between doing a bit of Gears of War and Forza and Halo, and it's quite eye-opening for me. Well, I say eye-opening, it's ear-opening actually, because it's actually taught me to actually listen more to the games, and it's quite amazing how much is in Sea of Thieves that you don't realise is there, just take for granted. But yes, so yeah. A lot of information communicated through audio, and a lot of stuff that isn't communicated through audio, like ship sailing up on you as well, too. All right. Well, that's going to do it for the community episode. Gentlemen, thank you again so much for just being here. I love talking with all of you guys. Always bring a lot of good viewpoints to the conversation, viewpoints that I
think really tend to echo a lot of what the community feels, which is why I think it's important to have these episodes, because as from my perspective, I tend to view things from multiple sides, and I always try to kind of land somewhere in the middle, understanding both perspectives. So I like having these episodes, these very episodes, when you guys come in with your perspectives, because I think your very specific perspectives helps kind of give me information on how I should be feeling about things as well too. So I appreciate that so much. And Pirates, with that, I think that's going to be it. So thanks all for joining. I'll be doing the regular outros and whatnots after this, but yeah, thanks a lot. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. It was good.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you, Logan.
You've been listening to a Robots Radio podcast. Smart shows for interesting people. Check out all the shows at robotsradio.net.
Are you into the Cyberpunk tabletop games or excited for Cyberpunk 2077? Are you looking to brush up on the lore, stay up on all the latest news, and talk about the game when it comes out? Check out the Cyberpunk Lorecast, a show from Robots Radio with me, your host, Robots. We'll go over all the details you need to know about the world, characters, and story of Cyberpunk. Available on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, and anywhere else you get your podcasts.
My name is Brian Burton. It's been 26 years since the bombs fell. And since I've left the vault, I've been trying to rebuild. This isn't the Appalachia that I remember. There's so much more to everything going on. And I promise to find the answer. So if you're out there, if you're listening, just hone in on these coordinates. Remember, there's a place for you at the end. Omega.
The Omega Broadcast Fallout Story is available on iTunes, Spotify, and many great podcasting sources.